just double check if it's really rolling, because
Yeah, we got to do the double.
it's working.
Perfect.
Cool. So,
Let's do it.
yeah. Hey guys, it's Robbert here at Max Guitar, and with me is our very honored guest, Jared James Nichols.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Yeah, you're welcome. And he's a very pleasant guy to talk to. Of course, we talked off camera. I have some questions, 10 questions for Jared James Nichols, and here we go. So the first one is how and when, you can read with me if you want.
Yeah, that's okay.
Did you fall in love with the guitar, and who were your influences?
Well, originally, all of my friends played guitar. I wanted to be a drummer. I didn't fall for the guitar right away because everyone was playing it around me, and I was like, that's cool, but I always liked the energy of the drums. But one of my brother's friends, he had a drum set, and he let me borrow it. And I remember it was the one time my dad came home from work, and he goes, I was trying to play the drums. He's like, no.
No fucking way.
No way. He's like, I'm not coming home after work listening to you play drums. So that went away really quick. And then he said, if you're able to learn a guitar riff on this acoustic guitar we had, he goes, I'll buy you an electric guitar.
Cool.
So within like 20 minutes, smoke on the water. And he goes, how'd you do that? And I was like, come on, get me an electric. But I remember I got my first electric guitar. It was a Washburn. Did you have Washburns here?
Yeah, well, a long time ago.
Long time ago.
When they were still good.
Yeah, it was a Washburn, and it came with like a little mini amp. And I plugged it in, and I played that riff. And I remember I was like, this doesn't sound right. And then I found the overdrive button.
Yeah.
Clicked it on. I was like, that's it. And then I figured that out. And then I started to play along to like Black Sabbath and all this stuff. Instantly hooked.
Yeah.
Instantly. That's all it took.
Yeah, cool. So who were your heroes then, back then? So besides Black Sabbath? Then?
Well, the originals were like Jimmy Page, David Gilmour, all of the classic rock guitar players. But then when I found...
Jimi Hendrix, maybe?
Hendrix, of course. I found like Hendrix, Clapton, even like Alvin Lee from 10 Years After, hearing people like Grand Funk Railroad on the radio, and then Johnny Winter. Mm-hmm. But then when I found the blues, that's when everything changed. Stevie Ray Vaughan, Buddy Guy, Albert King, Otis Rush. I found all these blues guys, and I was like, this is like guitar heaven.
But your music is blues, let's say, based, but it's not blues.
Not at all. I originally really wanted to chase blues and play that style and be more traditional, but I always had this energy and enthusiasm for rock and roll. And then when I moved to California, I was like, man, I want to start my own band. And I was like, well, I'm not going to have a blues band. Like, it didn't feel real. So instead,
it's been done already. You know?
Yeah. So instead, I went my own way, and I thought to myself, you know what? I want to do the blues-based thing, but I want to pack it with a punch. And so now I still feel like everything I do comes from the blues, but it's so much more amped up.
Yeah, but your band is like a power trio. Yeah?
Totally. Totally power trio.
Like, of course, not like Hendrix, but it's the same sort of energy that comes from that. Yeah, because you're originally from Wisconsin, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
East Troy, I read.
East Troy, Wisconsin, yeah.
Yeah, and that's close to Lake Michigan. What is it?
It is. Yeah.
So you grew up in the water, more or less.
A little bit, yeah. I grew up in the cornfields.
Yeah.
It was like farm country. So it was one of those places growing up where it was like there wasn't a lot to do. So when I found guitar, it was like probably like yourself. You know, you start playing a half hour, and then an hour.
Yeah.
And then it's like 5 hours.
Well, I will never be as good as you, but it doesn't matter. So we see that a lot of guitar heroes, latest was Jeff Beck, unfortunately, are sort of tapering off the number of them. And you are a new, fresh generation,
right?
I would say. And how does that feel? Because you don't have that, what I call BS rock star attitude.
Totally.
But more like a down to earth, you carry your own stuff.
Of course.
So how does that feel? I mean, is that feels more natural to you?
It feels more natural, but also like I feel like this style of music is very personal. I was telling a friend the other day, even all of our guitar heroes like Jeff Beck or Clapton or any of these guys, we might not know them, but I feel like I know them through their music, right?
Yeah, that's also with idols.
Yeah. So I feel like for me now, especially in 2023, it's very important to get down to the root of what it is, because we love the music, we'll always love it, but I really want to connect with people. I think that playing guitar, playing this style of music, it is all about connection. And
all music is, I think, no?
Yeah, and
well, maybe not techno, but
maybe not techno, but I like to keep it real, and I like to I just like to be present and in the moment. And life's too short to be to have an attitude.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I just told you off camera that all the great guitars that we had here, they don't have an attitude.
Right.
Well, maybe just a little tiny bit because they're famous, but
Sure,
and they
sure.
want to protect themselves.
Right.
But they're all, you know, down to earth. They play an amp and no bullshit. And that's
I've been so lucky to be to jam with, you know, people like Frampton and like Slash and all these people. The common thread that I've found when jamming with these guys, everyone's just really cool. They know what they do, they understand, but they still love it.
but Frampton is amazing.
Amazing.
I saw him live, you know, at the NAMM show. It was
Man,
he always does something that you don't expect, you know.
I have the chills right now. I remember when I got on stage. I'm on the far side of the stage and Frampton's on the other side. And I walk up and I'm holding my Les Paul. He's looking right at me and he goes like this. And I'm like,
What?
and I was like, oh my God. It was so cool.
So third question.
Yeah.
Your first album was 2017, Black Magic?
That was my second. The first
second,
one was
sorry.
in
Okay.
2016.
Oh, 2016.
Yep, Old Glory and the Wild Revival. It was
So
called.
your new one is self-titled?
Yeah.
Yeah, and how do you think or how do you feel that you have developed musically?
Oh man, so much. Well, the first thing is with the previous releases, it was almost like when we were recording them and making them, it was out of necessity. Like we wanted to tour, right? When I found myself at home, like everybody else, not able to come back over by you guys and play shows, I had time to really dig in. So with this album, and basically I wanted to find like where I wanted to go as an artist. And the songs, the sonics, the energy, everything, I really put like all of myself into it.
Yeah, because the last album sounds a little more I mean, it's not overproduced, but it's
Right.
more produced, but still feels very close.
Yeah.
It's still very direct,
Totally.
I would say. Yeah.
And I think that there's something I always had a hard time translating, like the live element to the recording. And with this record, we went into the studio. We didn't even use a computer on this recording. Straight to tape. And then I sang
So
over
no
it.
click track, nothing.
No click track, no tuner.
No tuner.
No tuner.
I'm getting him a tuner. He doesn't have a tuner. How can you? It's unimaginable. Anyway, so your guitar rig, I saw the guitar rig rundown. Seems very simple. So
Super
it's
simple.
it's all down to the same sort of attitude that you have. I mean, less is more.
Yeah.
What would you say? Because I feel. I mean, I talk to a lot of high-end buyers.
Yeah.
And they buy a lot of stuff from me, and I feel more and more that they're, or not so much them, but in general, people are overemphasizing on gear and trying to get something from the gear that they sort of fail to produce themselves.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's also me because I used to have a lot of effects.
Yeah, of course.
And now as you develop, you get less and less effects and more from your guitar, let's say. So how do you see that? I mean, you have a very simple rig, a little more than one effect, but normally you
Totally.
have just a clone,
Just a clone, yeah. Just an overdrive, or even like a tube screamer, like very simple, direct overdrive. The thing that I found was, I was like everyone for a long time. I was chasing myself, and I thought I would be able to buy it. But there's something that when you start to strip away, it's like, okay, cool. Take away the wah-wah. Take away the delay, take away the reverb, take away all this stuff, and it's just you, your guitar, direct into an amp.
But it takes balls.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes, you almost have to look at it. You have to like face the fear.
Yeah.
Like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, we're naked.
Yeah, we're naked.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing because you start to realize, you know, like, okay, maybe I don't need that. Maybe, you know, I can adjust my attack, or I can use my volume knob. And when you really...
That's what you do a lot, right?
Yeah, of course. And once you have that, I feel like as a guitar player, where you and the guitar are as one, that's powerful. And then you get to know your amp, all of it together, it's like your imagination's the limit.
Yeah. So you are... looks like you're steering clear from a lot of cliches because you use Blackstar.
Yep.
Which is not the average rock amp that
Totally.
you would expect. So why did you choose Blackstar?
So when I first started my trio, I was living in Los Angeles, and I went to this recording studio, and they had Blackstars. This was like right when Blackstar came out. And I went, what the hell is a Blackstar? So I plugged in, and the first thing I thought, I was like, okay, it's kind of Marshall-y. Okay, cool. I was like, but it's also got like a nice, because I don't use a pick either, so I was like, it's pretty dynamic. Like when I rolled off my volume, I had some clarity, It's like the notes kind of still popped out. So I really like that.
Which is important when you play with your fingers, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
And also the overall sonic of that volume knob, it was like I could do a whisper to a scream, and I love that. So I remember like the first gigs I did, I asked to borrow the Blackstar. So I started playing them. I was like, man, this is really cool. I didn't have a pedal in front of it or anything. And I just kept developing with the Blackstar, and then I got to know the company, and then I started to tour. And they were like, hey man, do you want us to send you a Blackstar?
Yeah, the guys are really cool. I mean,
yeah.
They're really friendly.
So they took care of me.
Yeah.
And with that,
but you must have a lot of offers from a lot of companies.
Definitely. But I feel like I'm kind of one of those people.
You're loyal.
Yeah, maybe like you. It's like when you find stuff you like.
Yeah, you keep it.
I don't never want to be that guy that's like flavor of the week. It's like, what are you playing now? Or just because someone wants to, a company comes along. I respect all companies and what everyone's doing, but I'm simple. I'm a simple guy.
But all due respect to Blackstar, because if you sound like a guitarist when I see your videos and everything, that it doesn't actually really matter so much. Mm-hmm. If you have a good amp, like a Super Reverb or whatever.
Totally.
You will sound great because everything is in your fingers is a cliche, but
yeah.
But it is more or less, no?
It is. I always feel like as a guitar player that the guitar players I really hold in a certain light, it's them. It's their hands. It's the way they attack it. It's the way that they even like speak through the guitar. Their phrasing. It's like they could be playing through anything.
Yeah, there's an interesting quote from Steve Lukather who said, somebody asked him, like, if I buy your guitar, your signature guitar, will I sound like you?
Right.
He said, well, I once played Eddie Van Halen's guitar and I didn't sound like Eddie Van Halen. So that is basically says it all. I mean, of course, commercial, the side of it is okay because we live from that.
Of course.
But still, I'd like to also sort of educate a little bit the people who come here and say you have to just listen and test and play, and you don't have to really walk all the, let's say, the trodden. How do you say the?
Yeah, you don't have to like follow all of the suits too, because like that's another thing I see a lot of people. They say, oh, I would never play that guitar because it's cheap, or I'd never play that amp because it's whatever. The reality is, what works for me, you could say, oh, I would never play that, but it works for him.
Well, I mean, it's also insecurity because for me, I play, let's say, a Gibson. I feel more secure with a Gibson than I would feel with that phone.
Totally.
I mean, because it's also because I'm an average player. I can imagine that people hide behind, like a Gibson or Two Rock or whatever, Marshall, whatever.
Right. I do see a lot of players that they'll show me their gear first, and they'll be very excited about that. And I'm like, oh, that's great. And then I'll grab like an Epiphone through this, and it's like, let's jam. And then they're like, wait a minute. It's like the gear can take you so far, but it's always going to be about...
Well, that's exactly the message that I want to convey to a lot of people.
Totally.
Because, I sell expensive guitars, so I don't mind if they buy it.
Oh, but come buy them.
Come more. But never enough. But it's also worthwhile to step back sometimes and say, okay, I just play what I need to play, and the fewer gear, the better, let's say.
Absolutely.
Anyway, about your amp, because this is your signature amp, you played this during your last tour. We're going to give one away tonight. Why did you choose Blackstar, and why was this limited? Because I still have people asking for it.
We got to ask Blackstar.
Yeah, or are you working on something new maybe with them?
We actually did do a 112 combo version, and that was great too. I am working on something new with them. That's going to be a little bit more headroom. It's going to be a little bit more classic.
So an amp, so not effects or anything?
No, an amp, yeah. But the reality with this one was I love the fact when we made this, it was a 212, but I was traveling so much, I would like take this and my guitar on the plane.
Plug it in anywhere.
Plug it in anywhere. So 20 watts, it has enough headroom that, I've played clubs, festivals, there's enough that you can get out of this to make it work, but also I can just plug it and play.
Yeah.
It has enough versatility, and it's a really simple amp. It's user friendly, and I still use the original one, and I haven't retubed it or anything.
Yeah.
So we're going on like 4 years I've been meeting this.
But I also saw you playing this new one, this St.
I do
James.
like these.
Yeah. They have a little more push, right?
They have more push. There's more
6L6.
Yeah, the 6L6 gives it a little more definition on the riffs.
Yeah.
So I've been playing these together. It's kind of cool because I keep this pretty chimey. Reverb, put the reverb up on this, and then that's just kind of more power on the bottom.
Yeah.
It's a really nice combo.
Yeah, it is. So I have a few more questions because
Let's go.
you have several super great guitars, like Old Glory, Old Black, Old Red.
Yep.
And now, of course, Dorothy. Could you tell us a little bit about that? Because that's a super story.
Yeah, it's a really cool guitar. I mean, I feel fortunate to have it.
It's not fortunately, not totally.
Oh, it's not in? Should we go like this?
Yeah, yeah, why not?
There we go. You don't need to see this. See this. So this guitar, I was on social media one day, scrolling on my phone, and there was a message from a guy near Chicago, and it said, "Hey, Jared, I found this guitar after a tornado in my yard," and he sent a picture, and he said, "I'm not sure what to do with it."
So it was broken, right?
Yeah, it was broken.
Yeah.
It was broken right here at the heel. I see it. I stop.
So it was taken up by a tornado and dumped in this guy's yard.
Yeah, and he picked it up after the tornado. I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's an early 52. You know, being a nerd.
Yeah.
Yep. So I hit him right back and I said, dude, what are you going to do with it? You know, I know people that could fix it. I said, if you'd ever want to get rid of it, I'd love to have it. He calls me the next day. I give him my number. He goes, yeah, I'm just going to give it to you. He goes, I didn't buy it. I don't want to sell it. So I went up. I drove from Tennessee where I live, met him. He gives me this guitar. My friend Joel at JW Restoration, he's in Pennsylvania. He is like a crazy scientist. He crafted this neck. So it's new Brazilian rosewood and obviously the back. Original 52 tuners, truss rod, inlays, all of that. But he just married this new neck on this guitar. I didn't know if it would sound good. I was like,
who cares? It's free, but
cool.
I mean, I played it. It's like an amazing guitar. I mean,
when we plugged it in, I was playing this old theater in Pennsylvania. I swear, because he's like, dude, I didn't check the electronics. I'm thinking I'm gonna plug it in. It's just gonna squeal and whatever. I plug it in. I start doing a vibrato, and I swear, like everyone stopped, and I hit it, and it was like, it's alive.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic guitar.
Yeah.
And this bridge pickup, I can't say enough. Even I did a session with Joe Bonamassa about 2 months ago. And I asked Joe, I said, hey man, how do you think this guitar sounds? He goes, dude, it's one of the best P90 Les Pauls I've ever heard.
So what's your thing with P90? Because there are so many great humbucker guitars.
Of course.
Is it like the marriage between like, an early love, a Strat with...
Totally. It's the marriage of like that Strat, that really nice silky thing.
Attack.
Yeah, totally. Should I answer that?
Yeah. I just... Sorry guys.
Max Guitars, Jared James Nichols. No, just kidding. It's part of that, but also there's something about a P90 that's like, it's I can really roll back and I can get that
and
nice...
these are original knobs too.
Yeah, all original knobs, yeah. And the original electronics and all that.
Yeah.
But anyways, when that thing's loud, it's really mean. And in a trio...
Snarly.
It's snarly. It's like a bark. And in a trio, when I'm playing that, and especially when I'm playing with other guitar players, like I did a gig with Joe and he was on a 59 and I was on this, it can stand out in its own... It has its own lane.
Frequency.
Yeah, so PAFs, of course.
And this is like super. You could never replicate that.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, it's great. And the body's a little thicker.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a great guitar, man.
And the neck is a little thinner than the original, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, this neck is actually based on my red Les Paul.
Yeah.
Because he goes, what do you want the neck to be like? And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I said, can I give you the specs on that? So it is a little thinner, but it's comfy.
Yeah, that's good. Nice guitar. So, and the other ones, you have like a 70 or 68 custom, which is the one you were famous for.
Yeah, that's the basis of my Old Glory. Great guitar, killer. Nova Lute, one-piece neck.
Yeah.
I have that, and then that was the basis on the Gold Glory, which is the second signature. I have Old Red, my 53. That was a gold that was painted over.
Yeah, the red one, the Dakota red, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yet again, another fantastic guitar. I wish I could bring all these guitars to Europe.
Yeah, you should. Actually.
I wish. Next time.
Yeah, come back. So, signature Epi.
Yep.
We have one here. Just get it. Just a short reference to that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, I asked Jared, if you have all these great guitars, why play an Epi?
Yeah.
And my opinion is that he sounds great on anything. Just, what is your opinion?
my opinion, first opinion, what's really cool about working with Epi is the fact that with these guitars, they're priced to the point where like, I'll play shows, yes. And when they approached me, they said, we want to do a signature. They said, we really think we should do Epiphone because it's a lot cheaper, a lot more people can get their hands on it. And I was all about it because I remember being that kid.
It's still a good guitar.
Great guitar. It's solid. It's got a Seymour Duncan P90, CTS pots.
Fat neck,
everything you need. So there's a lot of room. Grovers. There's a lot of room to play on this guitar.
Does this have a stinger too, or just the black one? Oh yeah.
It's got the stinger headstock.
Yeah,
I thought that was a cool touch.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So yeah, I think these are great. They're great workhorse guitars, and man, I beat these things up.
Oh, you should.
Yeah.
I know the way you play. I mean, it's,
Totally.
Last question. You have a lot of great endorsements, which are original endorsements, not like the run-of-the-mill.
Right.
But you don't have a pick.
No pick endorsement.
And we all know why.
Yeah.
Why did you? I mean, you started out with a pick. Yeah,
Right.
that's what I read. But what is it about the fingers? Because how can you? A lot of questions. So, why did you start? Let's say playing with your hands,
Right.
and how do you get it to sound so bright? You must have a lot of calluses, no?
Not really. You'd be surprised.
No.
But years of...
I touched him.
I touched him. Fingers. I'm like Freddy Krueger. So I'm a lefty. I write with my left hand. When I'm drinking, whatever, I'm lefty. So when I first picked up a guitar, I was holding it like this. The guitar
Sacrilege.
the guitar teacher goes, no, flip it. So I'm sitting there like this, and he goes, I'm with my thumb like this, and he goes, hey man, you have to use a pick. I was like, okay, so I'm trying to use a pick. And I didn't have great motor skills in this hand. It was like this hand felt really good on the neck, but this one, I always wanted to feel the strings under under my fingers. So
he's a little weird.
I'm a weirdo. Sorry. But I remember I heard like Jeff Beck, and then all of a sudden I heard like Albert King. And I heard him, and I was like, they're snapping up on it.
Yeah.
That's cool. So I started to do stuff like that. And then no one ever showed me how to really do it without a pick. I just started to develop my own style. And
Did you never bleed? Or
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I used to try and use the nail. Bad idea. Don't use your nails. Snap them right off.
Yeah.
Just horrible. But yeah, bleed, I'd use super glue. Just put a little super glue.
Don't try this at home.
Don't try this at home. I'm probably like poison. That's why I'm all like... And,
he's super hypey, so maybe that's the glue.
Oh, it's the glue. That's what it is.
He doesn't sniff it.
That's my next endorsement. Super glue. No sniffing it though. But yeah, it's weird, but I never thought that it would become like, hey, you're the no pick guy. But it did. So it's kind of cool.
Who cares? I mean, you make great music. That's
all. Yeah.
I mean, this is all nice to talk about, but who cares if you play with a pick or not? I mean, not really, no? Well, it's great talking to you.
Thanks, man.
Do you have anything you want to tell our viewers?
Yeah, I'm so happy to be back in the Netherlands. I think I'm at the nicest guitar store that I've seen in the Netherlands, of course. This place is awesome. I've yet to look around, so if you haven't been here, come here, because there's a lot of amazing stuff, man. So much cool stuff. And I can't wait to come back more and more. We're going to have a great night. Thanks for having me.
See you next year.
Yeah.
Okay, man.
See you, brother.